What's up, Sons of Montezuma? Well, the Aztecs dropped to 3-5 on the year. Nevada comes into Snapdragon Stadium and takes down SDSU 6-0. So I have one question. Can it get any lower than this?
Tickets last year back in the place and looking for a big win against Nevada as we are underway. Brandon Talton, his long on the season is 44 yards. This one from 43. Snap is good, hold is good. Kick right down the middle. On 1st and 25. Nowhere to go for Maiden. And the kick is up. And good, as you saw, a San Diego State player running in from the sideline. 2nd and 9 from the 23. Maiden going to throw. Pressure coming from Nevada. My goodness. Oh, my! Ball's out. Jonathan Maldonado is there. It's an interception for the Wolfpack. That may have just sealed the deal on their first win of the season.
You can only coach them so much. All my years of playing, never seen a coach on the field take a snap, right? You coach the guys up, they have to go out and play. They challenge each other in the locker room, but ultimately comes down to how you execute on game day. That was a tremendous performance defensively.
Gotta get my stats and my facts. Not that we need a whole bunch of stat tracking because there was like nothing.
There were no stats, bro.
All right, Aztec Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Sons of Montezuma podcast. We are here. I am your host. You can find me at Matteo San Diego on Twitter, and of course, Sons of Montezuma all over Instagram, Facebook, and of course, YouTube. So make sure you are clicking that like and subscribe button. We are inching our way towards 1,000 followers, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We'll see if we'll get there after this game. But I am joined with my co-host. He's protecting our borders from sea to shining sea. And I'm glad to see him, man. Even though you weren't there on the game on Saturday to go through the agony with me, I know you were keeping an eye on it and had some things going on. K5James is in the house. How are you feeling?
Oh, man, after Saturday, it's going to be a rough time, dude. It's going to be a rough last half of the season to do these podcasts, man. They're going to get tougher and tougher every time.
We are in our fields. We are in our fields today, so at least we're feeling something, but it ain't all good. The Aztecs suffer another defeat, this time at the hands of the Nevada Wolfpack, the visiting Wolfpack. The Aztecs lose at home, 6-0. I think at this point, it's Monday night. Everybody knows it. We've gone through a couple days of suffering, reminding ourselves of the loss, who we lost to, how we lost. So, I mean, I don't really want to go through like a quarter by quarter, step by step recap of the game, but that was my original thoughts. I mean, there wasn't a lot of highlights. We were just talking, trying to put together the highlight reel at the beginning, the audio reel, and there wasn't much at all that I could do. I mean, and where you were watching from your vantage point, James, I mean, was it as frustrating from where you were as it was, for us who were all there?
Yeah, man. I was watching on my phone at a party, and yeah, it was just frustrating, man. Especially offensively, just like missed wide open guys wide open dropping passes, just no consistency in the running game. It was brutal, and I know last podcast I said we have to face facts that we don't have a good defense, and they came out and played pretty well this game. I mean, it is one of the worst offenses in CFB that they shut down, but still, I think the bigger statement we need to make is we just don't have a good team, period, this year. Like I think that's pretty much solidified right now after that game Saturday.
You are what your record says you are, right? And that's unfortunately the cold, hard truth. Statistically, defensive teams, they're obviously giving up like over 400 yards per game. And I think if you look at the stats, I mean, we're talking about 47 yards passing in the air, and through the air, that was probably their biggest, challenge this whole season long. So, well, okay, let's just put things in perspective. This loss, 6-0. It's like, where do you begin with this game, right? But just to put things in perspective for all the listeners, that was the first shutout at home since 1976, if I'm not mistaken, 76, which was against BYU. They lost 8-0. So to put that in perspective, because I've heard that stat get tossed around quite a bit, but to put things in perspective on that stat, that year was the Aztecs' first year in the WAC. So I always hear and have these conversations with guys like my dad or from people from his generation who were there during that transition from the small time college to the Pacific, whatever that was, and then going up to the WAC. I mean, we were completely outmatched when we made that transition, right? Size wise, you're going against guys like BYU that have these guys coming back from their Mormon missions. They're several years older than all of our players back in those days. So to put that in perspective, I mean, we haven't been shut out. We haven't played that bad offensively or had an offensive performance like that since we first joined the WAC in '76, which is crazy.
Yeah, and to me, getting shut out, that's not even the thing. It's they got shut out by the worst defense in FBS football, one of the worst defenses, and arguably the worst. So that's the thing that's really upsetting and disappointing is the level of the opponent. It wasn't like some powerhouse came in and shut us down. That's that can happen. But to me, it's almost like lack of effort. You never want to question kids' willingness to play because they put their butts on the line all the time. But I don't know, man. It just didn't seem like they were into the game. I don't know. It was a weird game to watch. It was tough to watch, but it was also very strange.
Little odd. I mean, to be there in the environment, it was actually a really good crowd. Like it was parents' weekend, right? So a lot of good energy was there in the stadium, and we were tailgating and get inside, the walls, and the energy was buzzing. But yeah, I don't know if that had anything to do with it, right? Players' mentalities, kids' mentalities out there on the field. You would think you'd want to perform, extra well in front of your peers and their families. But when it comes down to it, a lot of people are wondering, and the big question is, as far as the coaching staff and the direction. One of the plays early on that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth right off the bat was, of course, Nevada gets an early field goal, 3-0, after we go 3-and-out in our first possession. But we had an opportunity in that first quarter, I believe. We marched across midfield and into their territory. It's 4th and 3, James. 4th and 3 in Nevada's territory. And we decide to punt it. I mean, we're playing against the worst defense statistically in FBS. So to see that right off the bat, that got me on edge really early. I understand you're trusting your defense, but that much distrust in your offense against this team, okay. In hindsight, maybe you could say, well, the offense didn't do anything, so maybe that was a legitimate reason. We punt the ball, we back them up at their 1-yard line. I get it. But listen, punts don't put points on the board. Punts do not put points on the board. That was an obvious situation for me. I don't know how clear that came across to you where you were watching, man, but just that scenario, what does that tell you about the mentality going into this game?
Yeah, I would have liked them to go further as well. I wasn't. It didn't set me off like it set you off, but I'm always for going for it on the plus side of the field. And I just goes. To me, it shows the lack of aggressiveness. It seems like the staff has this year, and I don't know what the answer is, man. It's rough. You can only defend. We like Ryan Lindley. I like his play style and like the type of game he calls so far, but this game was just brutal, man. Like there was no rhythm, there was no consistency, and part of that is guys not executing. But this is the first game where I'm like, oh man, maybe Lindley's not ready for that spot. So we're kind of at a crossroads right now, and obviously nothing's going to happen with the staff until the season's over. But I mean, there's still a few games left, and I don't know if they're going to be able to change my personal feelings about the way things should go after the season. But right now, it's not looking good.
Okay, well, you bring that up, man. But okay, let's talk a little bit though, because in that second quarter, at the end of the game, we heard Brady Hoke say, "Well, our defense put out a fantastic effort, but we still didn't get any turnovers," and that stood out to me in the post game presser because in that second quarter, in that first half, 3 straight possessions the Aztecs started in Nevada territory or midfield or closer, and they couldn't get any points on the board. Jack Brownie missed a field goal, barely missed it, but still a miss. And you're looking like, well, we didn't get any turnovers, but those 3 straight possessions, I mean, that's as good as a turnover as you're going to get with a short field, 3 straight possessions and nothing to show for it. But I mean, for offensive wise, and I know you're saying, okay, no changes are going to be made before the end of the year, but with that type of outing, you understand that the offensive game plan, whatever it is, you hate to say it's all on the offensive coordinator. I don't believe that. I think what we've seen in the past is that it's a whole staff working together, piecing it together. Of course, head coach has got to sign off on it. But I mean, at what point are we in this season now with this team and this staff? I mean, I hate to say like you can't get any lower, but I mean, you lose this game, what does it essentially mean for the season?
Yeah, it doesn't get much lower than Saturday, man. And to your point about the defense and what Hoke said about the defense, yeah, they didn't get any turnovers, but as you said, they gave the offense incredible field position, like almost the entire game. And as you said, that's almost as good as a turnover, and to me, it is. So I've been one of the biggest critics about this defense this year, but they actually played a really good game, and we should compliment them on that. So to me, that's kind of like a cop out. It's Hope trying to protect, the offense, and
Sure.
they always say the defense will always say, we didn't stop them enough to win the game, and that's just being a good teammate. But the defense played well enough to win this game, and just and the special teams as well. They contributed with a great field position help, but the offense just didn't pull their weight. And this was a team I was hoping this was going to be a game they were going to get right because it's against a really bad defense at home, and parents weekend. I was hoping the good crowd would motivate them, but they just, for whatever reason, they didn't function at all. And I mean, you saw the result, getting shut out at home by the worst defense in big time college football.
With working with the guys that we do, of course, on the NIL side and getting the chance to be a little bit more personal with some of the guys and of course everyone around them. It's tough because, dude, like Jalen Maiden, okay, 6 of 14, 47 yards. This was a total team loss effort, and to pin this on somebody's individual play, it's tough because you see the end result and your immediate reaction is you want to say, okay, well, who didn't do what? But I mean, there were so many missed opportunities, drop passes, penalties, obviously reared their ugly head again, and missed assignments, missed blocks. Defense played lights out, like you said. There definitely wasn't a lot of missed tackles or those type of situations again. But how do we even look at the quarterback position? Because, like I said, 6 of 14, that's only 14 attempts. Okay, so let's get into the real. Man. Because we could talk about this game until we're purple in the face, and it's not going to change the outcome. It's not going to change the situation. But let's address the real issues, though, because we've been trying to avoid it. I think and of course we still got 4 games left. 3 out of the next 4 games, if the Aztecs can pull it out, they'll be bowl eligible. And it's not really going to change many people's minds, but it will give an opportunity to say, okay, end of the year, reassess, and that's what's going to happen regardless of the outcome of these next 4 games. But we got a bye week, and then we get homecoming against Utah State. And already for the last several weeks, I mean, it's no secret, everybody's been calling for Brady Hoke's position. There was a lot of chatter in the media, and I got to bring it up because listen, you know, if somebody says something we disagree with, we are pretty much a reactionary podcast. We comment. If it was Coach Quintero who we've blasted, if it was KUSI who we've blasted at times, we have to speak honestly and truthfully. But with this loss, I think it really has to begin that seat to warm up. Definitely, as much as we don't want to hear it, Coach Brady Hoke began the turnaround here at San Diego State. I have a ton of respect for him for that fact. Um, I know things didn't go down very well when he left for Michigan. That was an opportunity you don't pass up. But the fact that he came back as an assistant coach position, I don't think it was any mystery that handoff from Rocky Long. When Rocky Long was ready to lace it up and move on from a head coaching position, he was going to name his successor, and I believe the Aztecs, the football program, gave him that opportunity to name your successor. It was Brady Hoke. But where are we standing at now, man? I mean, there's realistic expectations for this team that are not being met, and this last week was just a rude awakening, showing that we're very far from meeting those realistic expectations. We're not talking national championship here; we're talking conference championship, and right now we're at the bottom. I mean, what are your thoughts on maybe? I'm just trying to get at uh, just your thoughts on the coaching position. If there should be some other names out there floating around that we should realistically be, who would you do you even want to go there? Talking about who would you replace? I mean, these are the things that happen when when you have a loss like this. The shark starts circling around the waters. There's blood in the water, and unfortunately, San Diego State fans have been given a little bit of a bad rap these last few weeks from the media. East Village Times had their article. I know the guys, we know the guys, but if you're going to step into the realm of the media and you say something, you're going to have to stand up for it. You're going to have to back it up. To say that the Aztec fan base is toxic, because some of those names floating out there have been, calling for coach's head and asking for these names to be replaced. I mean, come on, guys. This is San Diego State. This is not SEC fan base football where, they're actually doing something, to cause a disruption. We're San Diego State fans. We're passionate, but I mean, come on, let's get real, right, James?
Yeah, to call this fan base toxic, man. Like I said it on Twitter earlier this week. I was like, if you think this fan base is toxic, you're in for a rude awakening with like 80% of the rest of college football fan bases, man. We have like a super soft media coverage. We have a super soft fan base. We have a few vocal voices that may be toxic. But that's any fan base has some toxic corners of their fandom. But overall, our fan base is about as milquetoast as it gets. And to call out the fan base is toxic, and that's why they're struggling, or that's why the coaches are having a hard time, or whatever the justification was for it. I think that's just a cop out. As far as like the momentum for replacing the head coach, I don't want to start speculating on guys we should go after, because I don't think it's clear that even, let's say the worst happens and they don't win a game the rest of the season, I'm not sure it's clear he gets fired after that, which I feel he would deserve it. I feel a move should be made if that's what happens. But I think there's still a question on, he may be able to pull out those 3 games of the remaining 4 and go to a bowl game. And I think it's going to be pretty much impossible to fire him if that happens. So, and I'm not necessarily going to be happy about that, because, we've had suspicions, we've had issues with some of the stuff that's been going on. And this Nevada game wasn't like the tipping point, but it was just more fuel to that fire of what's the program going in the wrong direction, and the momentum for this program going in the wrong direction. And we've talked about how changing that is like one of the biggest issues we have as a fan base and as a school and as a program. So I think it might be, if it comes down to it and JD Wicker has to make that call, he's got a way. I know that buyout is ridiculous, and that's another conversation we can have about extending the contract with that buyout. But he may have to weigh the cost of not making a move and not changing the momentum and flipping the momentum, and getting this program going in the right direction again versus continuing this kind of downward, slow death of 1,000 cuts that we've got going on right now. So yeah, I'm not ready to start talking about guys, possible replacements or whatever. I think we should get to that in the off season, or wait till there's an idea that might happen. But I'm definitely, fans are calling for his head. That's fair. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think we should take that seriously until after the season.
I totally hear you on that stuff, man. I think that's just what got me riled up and got me a little bit more on edge than usual. It was just such a tone deaf reaction, I think, towards the fans. I mean, if we're looking at this from a big picture, everybody wants Brady Hoke to succeed. Nobody wants him to fail because his failure is our failure. We're together in this program, in this Aztec nation. But you can't turn a blind eye on everything else that has led up to this point. I mean, we're talking about Snapdragon Stadium last year not fulfilling the seats and fulfilling our ideal of what a new stadium should, its effect should have in the community. I mean, we're talking about the play on the field, of course, is the biggest thing. But let me put it to you like this, and I know we've talked about it. You're not a proponent of, obviously the Aztec warrior and all things that come with that, right? I mean, it has nothing to do with the play on the field. But when you look at things from this perspective, that Aztec warrior, what that represented and who it reached out to was the older generation Aztec fans, right? We can all, I think, all agree upon that. Well, then you build the new Snapdragon Stadium, and the prices are astronomical. They're just way inflated for the younger fans, the younger adults that are just starting out in their careers, possibly for young families. It's very difficult to support physically there at the stadium. So I mean, you've taken these jabs against the older generation, and then you make yourself so exclusive from some of the younger generation. The bad play on the field, it's just a recipe for a little bit of a disaster. And if you get some toxicity coming from an angry fan base because of all these different things going on, mix in the Pac-12 imploding. I mean, come on, do we need to talk about San Diego sports? I mean, look at the Padres and how they've underachieved so much. We're still not out of the wake of the Chargers leaving for the NFL. So, I mean, know your audience, know who you're talking to. These are San Diego sports fans who have been through the ringer, and now our own program is not meeting this glorious expectation that we had for this new stadium, this new season, this new return of Brady Hoke. And this is what you get. This is not out of the norm, I think, for fans to be feeling this way and to be having these type of reactions. And to call them out on it, come on now. Give me a break. It's my rant.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look. I just think it's like you described it very well. All those things, it's like a convergence, like the perfect storm of bad momentum. And they've got to do something to switch that. And the best way that I can think of, besides winning, is to make a change. So I think that's something that JD Wicker is going to think about at the end of the season, and he's going to have to make that call.
Yeah, definitely a shakeup of some sort is needed. And listen, this isn't anything personal. This was put out in the public arena. If somebody else said it, I have a lot of respect for the EVT guys, Paul Garrison, all those guys for the hard work they do. But this was a public article. I mean, so gonna answer it publicly. And I don't know, man. I don't know what else to say about that. It's all converging, and this was all before the game this past Saturday. So then you get that type of performance, and it's like, come on, okay, well, what are we all thinking now? When is it time to start demanding or asking for more? You know what I mean? And I mean, the seats are not filled already. We're already at that point. So I mean, what else is it going to take for some type of a shakeup? Maybe not a firing per se, or that you let people earn their position, but we all got to do better. Yeah,
they thought season tickets were hard to sell this year. I mean, coming after this year that we're in the middle of, it's going to be really tough to sell season tickets next year. So they got to pray for like another great basketball run. Hopefully that'll get the momentum going to kind of bleed off into football. But it's going to be a tough sell right now based on the momentum of the program currently. Yeah. So, unless the team goes on a big run and wins these last 4 games and, kind of momentum changes and the offense explodes, I think it's going to be really tough to justify not making a change.
Well, like we said, these next 4 games, we got a bye week, then it's homecoming against Utah State. I mean, we've already said it. None of these games are gimmies. If there was one, it was Nevada, but Utah State comes in. Then we go on the road to Colorado State, I believe. And then we finish it up. We finish it up with San Jose State and Fresno State. And it's going to be very interesting to see what the odds makers will say for each one of those games. It's not going to be easy. I don't envy you and Dan on the podcast. Dan's not here today. We'll see if he makes a return before the season's over. It's a lot to take.
Yeah, these get a lot harder when the team has this kind of momentum. It's a lot easier after losses you can deal with, but just the way they're playing, it makes it very difficult because there's not a lot to talk about. We don't have a whole lot we can say besides the same thing over and over about how they're playing poorly, and that kind of gets old, man. I'm sure it's not fun to listen to. So hopefully they give us something better to talk about going forward. I think the team is going to have to really evaluate how they want this year to go in this off week, and kind of either come together or I think this is probably going to make or break the team this bye week to see what's going to happen.
All right, man. Well, like you said, basketball is around the corner. Thank goodness for that. And for all you listeners who have stayed this long listening, if you are still there, want to put it out. This coming Sunday, October 29th, we are having our first ever Sons of Montezuma live podcast. Well, I can't say it's our first ever live podcast, but one of our first open to the public live podcasts is going to be 2 interviews, one with Jaden Ladie and one with Lamont Butler. We just closed the deal. It's going to be down at Caliware SD on University Avenue. There will be like an open to the public autograph signing session. Very, very short window there. And we'll be posting out the exact times that's going to go down. But then we're going to have, for the actual interviews, it'll be a closed door ticketed event. We will be releasing the Eventbrite. So whoever wants to make those purchases to see that show live in its entirety, you would also get either one of their t-shirts, their NIL t-shirts that we have with each guy. And of course, a personal meet and greet. You get to be a part of the live studio audience and, get to ask them some questions, hear what their responses are. And it should be an awesome time. Really, really happy for Caliware. Those guys down there have an awesome clothing shop. I don't know if you've seen them, James. They got all kind of sneakers, hats. They're really known for their sneakers and hats. And not too far from the campus. So like a lot of students go down there. A lot of ball players already go down there. So those good people down there open up their doors and want to do something really cool NIL wise for those guys. So hopefully something we can keep going and, keep building for our NIL players at San Diego State, man. Week off for you guys, man. You guys get to enjoy it.
I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be busy this weekend with my daughter and then more Halloween parties. So
what are you going to be as? What are you going to be? What are you going to be for Halloween?
I'm still going to be my Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China.
Who's that, Russell?
Yeah, Kurt Russell. I got the wig and the tank top, the boots, the long ass boots.
I'm trying to picture you looking like Kurt Russell. That wig. We might need to post that, man. We might need to post that.
The wig sells it. Yeah, so I'll try to get a picture of it.
James, thank you for joining, man. Not the result we wanted, not the episode we wanted to record, but we got to keep it real. And hopefully somebody got something out of this because everybody stay on the boat. Stay off the ledge. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. All right, on behalf of K5James, no dirtball Dan today, but I am Matteo San Diego. You can find us at sonsofmontezuma.com. Go Aztecs.
Go Aztecs.